Part deck builder, part roguelike and part tower defense, this is a real-time strategy game, where a rolling deck of cards determines not only what kind of defenses you can build, but also what buffs, spells and additional forces you can deploy to help defend your keep from the oncoming hordes. It's a gripping mix that has the potential to claim many hours of your time. ORX's early access release lets you choose between the traditional castle-building rune wardens and the desert-dwelling dune reavers. As you'd expect for a tower defense game, players must use their cards to build up their defenses and protect their keep from multiple waves of orcs. If the orcs break through and destroy your keep, it's game over. While you can choose to fully abandon your run if the cards just aren't flowing in your favor, you can also attempt a mission as many times as you like. Between missions you'll also be given the choice of either enhancing or modifying your deck with new or more powerful versions of cards you already own, either from your end of mission spoils, text-based story events, or by picking one of its dedicated upgrade nodes on the map screen. It's here where ORX makes the leap from run-of-the-mill roguelike to a stonkingly good strategy game. In a tumultuous fantasy world full of animals, it's up to you to select a team of 3 furry or feathered heroes to battle against evil. It's a cool world, but don't expect a whole bunch of story to guide you through here. You'll be too busy upgrading your decks to care anyway. Each member of your team has their own deck of up to 14 ability cards, which are what you use when battling the evil monsters trying to ruin your day. Battle take place in 3 lanes, and are always against 3 enemies. Each turn your characters have a set amount of AP to spend on different cards, which all have plenty of different effects. Outside of the actual battles, Arcanium takes place on a huge map made up of hexagon tiles. Each tile has some sort of event on it, ranging from different difficulties of battles to campfires and conversations, which will lead to you upgrading your decks, or heroes in some way. Arcanium, Rise of Akhan is a good deck building game, but its extreme difficulty and overall complexity hold it back from being a great one. If you really put the effort in, there's a lot to enjoy, with some unique elements like minions and lanes, but if you're not a deck building prodigy, you should probably hone your skills elsewhere first. Jack Move is some sort of an JRPG that blends Neuromancer with Final Fantasy VII. In the game, it's the year everything went dark in this turn-based Japanese-style RPG, with a solar storm biffing the world's electronics. Jack Move's story doesn't tread any new ground in this respect, but Noah and her hacker buddy Ryder are a fiery-spirited pair that make this only 6-hour tale of espionage and rebellion against its cartoonish villain well worth dipping into. Aside from its manageable length, the other ace Jack Move has up its sleeve is its absorbing battle system. While the bulk of the game gives you a top-down view of Noah's hometown, battles take place over the shoulder in a kind of Tron-like virtual realm for some stylish cyber clashes. Jack Move comes with wonderfully detailed battle animations, bringing an extra layer of visual relish. The more you attack, the more you build up your special meter as well, which lets you do devastating limit break style attacks, similar to those in Final Fantasy. If you're looking for a small Final Fantasy VII style fix that will send you back to 1997, Jack Move should slot into your gaming library very nicely indeed. One of my favorite things about the Iron Oath is how its classes are so distinct from the usual generic RPG ones. You run a mercenary company in a fantasy world, and must travel about it finding and fulfilling contracts that keep your fighters fed, equipped, and paid. Over time, your efforts at stabbing bandits and kicking wildlife in the face give you a reputation that you can leverage for better prices, and more lucrative jobs from more influential people. They also make your members more skilled, and thus more expensive to keep on. Although the mercenary management subgenre is still pretty small, this is all fairly standard within it. The Iron Oath distinguishes itself in a few ways, with the first being its emphasis on the long term. The kingdoms whose people and nobles you butter up can rebel or wage war on each other, and every few decades a terrible dragon appears to blast a city, spreading chaos and weird plagues. Pyrolancers are tough spearmen who hit harder the more on fire everything is, while pugilists go in with raw kung fu brass. Combat feels chunky, but taking someone out feels satisfying. The plenty of opportunities to betray, rob, and kill people make the option to be merciful and generous all the better, and probably vice versa. My medieval settlement in Farthest Frontier is suffering from drought and crop blight, everyone has smallpox, and we're being raided by bandits. Farthest Frontier drops you into one of 4 pleasant-seeming biomes with a dozen weary settlers looking to make a new life for themselves. The basics of building and running a settlement are simple enough, and fairly familiar if you've played other survival city builders. Gather wood, build houses, find food, and defend yourself from wolves and bears. The really interesting wrinkle here is that all food eventually spoils. Even the stockpile you start with won't last much beyond the first winter, meaning you can't just harvest everything in sight and not have to worry about it for a long time. This simple change is the core of why Farthest Frontier feels so authentic, and why I found its challenges so novel and satisfying. Farthest Frontier shines with its detailed agriculture system. Every plot of land you can grow on has ratings for fertility, rocks, weeds, and even the ratio of sand to clay content. These can all be influenced with various jobs, and it makes crop rotation essential because planting the same thing again will often end up leaving the land barren after a while. Core Keeper makes the sandbox survival sim formula feel new. If you love Terraria and Valheim, this one's for you. In Core Keeper, players are dropped into the center of a massive, procedurally generated cavern. From the heart of this cavern, you mine and gather resources, food to keep from starving, ore for armor and tools. The early game is basically just punching through barriers and filling up your pockets. Like in Valheim, regions have big bosses, though it's possible to play significant parts of the game while avoiding them. Core Keeper does a great job of slowly revealing its crafting system, and the breadth of ways you can build up your base. You largely learn by doing, unlocking additional perks or finding new materials and wondering, what can I do with this? Which is a rare quality in a genre that can be encumbered by many archaic rules and difficult to navigate screens. All of this is sweetened by Core Keeper's simple and engaging skill system. The more you do a particular activity, the more points you bank to spend on related perks. Core Keeper is a cool multiplayer survival sim with an exciting pixel look that is for all sandbox fans who like games like Terraria. After a slow start, it's good fun for a long stretch before the campaign loses steam once the chase of unlocking all the forms starts to come to an end. No matter which form you're in, combat starts out simple to a fault, but eventually becomes interesting thanks to the expansive customization options that grow with every new form you unlock and upgrade. But what's unique about Nobody Saves the World is that you can take those unlockable abilities and mix and match them to any other character. So you could equip the knight with the horse's gallop ability to make him run super fast and crash through enemies, or you could put the knight's shield block on the ranger to give her a way to defend against enemies that get close. Nobody Saves the World also features online co-op, which works well mechanically but comes with some limitations regarding second player's own progression. This game brings you a 15 hours campaign with a lot of fun for 1 or 2 players. There's a wide variety of fun and humorous side quests, excellent customization options that encourage experimentation between your various forms and the abilities they can equip, and clever dungeon designs that really demand you explore the full depth of that customization. Just King is an action auto-battler with roguelike elements. Assemble your party to venture into different lands fighting fearsome kings and their deadly armies. A fun little game in which you need to protect your king from all the enemies, and you do this by picking heroes, and then the fun happens. You can select magicians and hit the enemies from long distance, or you could pick druids and let them become bears to maul your enemies. You can hire and upgrade heroes in an auto-battler shop and use over 15 characters and their synergies to create powerful combinations. Each run is different based on the heroes you select. Discover and wield many legendary items to boost your party and fight deadly bosses to unlock new areas, enemies, heroes, and mechanics. This game is for all of you who like strategic and tactical games where you love to plan and prepare a strategy before it goes to the battlefield. Just King is a combination of team fight tactics and vampire survivors. This roguelike game will keep you at least 10 hours busy, while you try new combinations with the ambitious goal to defeat the next boss with your squad while protecting your king by all means. It is a cool twist between offense and defense strategy thinking. Vault of the Void is a Rouge-like deck builder like Slay the Spire. Prepare to fight a lot of enemies and make a lot of tough deck building decisions. Upon starting a run, you'll have a few characters to choose from, once you unlock them anyway, and then a pair of decks to pick between. Once you've got your build sorted, you're then thrown straight into a hex-based grid full of icons ready to start your adventure. Don't expect a rich narrative and reason for adventuring, the focus is solely on those card-filled roguelike runs we all know and love. The aim of each floor of the game is to make it from left to right and beat up a boss, but each tile has something on it that will interrupt that journey. Each turn you have a set amount of energy to spend and can use it playing cards that have all sorts of effects. At a basic level some deal damage and some block damage, but it's much more complicated than that. You're not eased into the mechanics slowly enough, and even the tutorial is over too quickly to really sink in. The amount of unique mechanics you have to learn as each class is overwhelming too, and often put you off trying the new characters recently unlocked. If you're a deck-building master and want a really deep card game to get stuck into, then Vault of the Void could be the game for you. Dorfromantik's masterful minimalism will soothe your soul. Dorfromantik's masterstroke is that there's no time pressure or building constraints here. Dorfromantik is a peaceful game of tile placement, a sort of minimalist, meditative Catan. This is not a game of ambition. It can be hard for a mind trained on video game reward systems to break the habit of escalation and learn its relaying pace. The more edges you match correct will score points. Placing trees next to trees, or fields next to fields and so on. Based on this the higher your point score will be. Match all 6 sides of a tile, now highlighted by a clear white trim you can toggle on and off, and you'll earn you extra tiles as a reward, as will completing any of its quests. These will crop up on tiles with little number bubbles, tasking you to make a village with 52 people in it, for example, or a vista of golden fields with at least 75 of them all joined together. In all modes, you're given a heap of randomly generated hexagons to arrange as you please, the idea being to match as many tile edges as possible to what's already on the board. Once I made harmony rather than efficiency my goal, Dorfromantik met me halfway, my scores were better, my runs longer, my maps more beautiful.